One thing that came up in a couple of people's comments was Facebook. I think Facebook comes up routinely in pretty much every conversation at the moment. But the idea of real money gaming, of course, Facebook announced the back end of last year that it was looking to develop ventures with various different gaming partners to launch real money gaming apps. But to what extent is social gaming just going to be just another simple extension of the gaming environment into a Facebook platform, and to what extent is it actually going to revolutionize gaming? Because in the same way that it moves into mobile platforms as well, is the most innovative thing that we can think of just to play roulette on our tablet or roulette inside a Facebook app and have the instead of the chatting around the table, the chatting around the wall of a Facebook group? Is there the possibility that Facebook will give rise to new business models within gaming, or anything more that's just really just another pure extension of the gaming environment? Because that's fairly simplistic, fairly obvious, and everyone will move in that direction, and I think it'll be a fairly predictable outcome if that does happen. So what does the table think that the Facebook extension into real money gaming might bring?
Personally, I think it's obviously a lot of the main poker sites. I'm not involved in poker myself, but I know a little bit about it. It's quite a social game. You're always looking to set up tables with your friends. You're always looking to go with someone you know or play with players you make friends with them. Facebook, once it allows real money gaming, it will kind of be the social hub for gaming. No one could be able to beat that. If Facebook has a platform where you can play poker online for real money, and all your friends are there, literally, why would you go anywhere else?
So you're talking about Facebook being the casino?
Well, not Facebook, it'll be integrated into Facebook, but it's effectively the social hub, playing with all your friends. You've no reason to go to an operator which might have 2 or 3 people you know on, when you can see out of your 500 friend list that there's 20 people playing poker right now.
So it is about the sharing experience.
Yeah, I think a lot of kind of poker's about the sharing experience.
But that is poker. What do you think about casino?
Casino, I'm not too sure on, to be honest. I think I need to think more into that.
Does that not make Facebook more of a competitor to the casino environment and the gaming environment?
Well, it's not necessarily a competitor, because the operators will be working into Facebook rather than, I mean, as you said, Facebook are making grounds into it. I think I spoke to Zinger, I think it was, or someone. But there's, as is in the gambling industry at the moment, there's enough room for everyone.
It's another distribution channel. Ultimately, it's another distribution channel. I doubt in the immediate future Facebook would develop the infrastructure that some of the gaming companies out there have, some of the operators have out there. Their prime concern at the moment is social media. They do it very, very well. It's probably in their better interest and everybody else's better interest for them to facilitate gaming rather than try and compete.
But I think your question was about like gaming formats and the potential change in terms of the types of games that people play.
Yeah.
And I think if Facebook make it as easy to make a gambling game as it is to make a social game currently on Facebook, then it'll open up the opportunity to create games to hundreds of thousands of bedroom developers around the world. And you have to assume that if that happens, you will get breakout hits in the same way as Angry Birds was a breakout hit that kind of came from nowhere, that do not come from established gambling providers, just in terms of weight of numbers. Whereas previously the cost of trying to develop a new game has been astronomically high, to the extent that there's very little innovation in terms of the types of new games that exist in gambling. Whereas if Facebook make it as easy as, I say, to make a gambling game as they have made it to make a social game, because most Facebook games aren't made by Zynga, they're not made by well, any of the like major social gaming companies. They're made by guys, 1s and 2s in bedrooms throughout the world. And so, you know, the open web is about allowing anybody to participate. And if that happens, then I imagine it'll become much more of the games themselves will become more of a hits-based business in the same way as music, film is. And you'll see breakout successes coming from left field.
So you think Facebook will evolve more as almost a development environment for which developers can deploy their real money games?
I think it's more of a question than a thought, in that I think the point you make is right. If it's not on their agenda or it's not important to them, then it doesn't matter. If they do it, if they make it as easy to make a gambling game as it is to make a social game, then I think the industry will be entirely turned on its head.
And I think at the moment and possibly for the foreseeable future is very much a complementary element to a current marketing mix that allows scale, and whether Facebook go into the real money element, I don't think it'll be happening for a while with kind of IPO conversations that are going on at the moment. But I think following that, and I completely agree with it being the open web, it's just going to bring on a whole load of consolidation, and there's going to be, in a similar way to Double Down's been recently bought for, where it was 500 million. I imagine these two guys sat in a bedroom are going to be snapped up left, right and centre by every big gaming brand out there. It's going to be interesting to see how the gaming brands connect on Facebook against these hundreds and potentially thousands of small apps that are going to appear left, right and centre.
So does that make it even more of a competitive threat for the big established casino and gaming operators?
I'd argue not, because even the larger, more established operators out there still need channels into other emerging markets. More and more larger operators are moving more into sort of social gaming spaces, that sort of stuff. Something like Facebook, by its very global nature, allows you to distribute your product to a wider audience. So while it opens up competition, it also opens up markets. So.
I would say one thing that e-gaming does kind of suffer from, that we've seen happen in the traditional video game world, is that the type of people that played video games 10 years ago versus the people that play video games now are vastly different. And I wouldn't be surprised if opening up social gaming to Facebook, especially to smaller developers, would dramatically change the demographics of the user group. Because I think in a lot of ways, gaming is accessible to certain types of users, and there's a kind of a demographic that you're shooting for. What you're missing is people who play for different reasons. You get the catharsis player, the player that comes in and plays. They know they're going to lose money, but they play for the emotional feeling of pulling the virtual handle or whatever it is that they need to do to have that experience. But what you're not getting is people who have in their mind built up some type of mental blockage to this type of activity. Now, if you can effectively, and I hate to use the word disguise, but it is in a way disguise, or change the sentiment attached with performing the action through some type of fun visual play. Maybe instead of going to a casino and pulling a slot machine, you have some type of farming activity that you get to pick which animal you pick, and then there might be some reward with it. Whatever that future gaming model looks like, what it opens up is an entire large pocket of users that would have never come to the site in a traditional model. And I think that's one thing that people aren't talking about enough, because I think that's where this industry will change, and that's where the small gamers will win out, the small developers will win out, because traditional gaming sites are going to be focused on a model that is traditional, and those users aren't going to want that traditional offering.
I actually think that's a very good point, because if you look at kind of the way this question was phrased, it's how do we take our current model, how do gaming operators take the current model and put it on Facebook, which I think is the question. If you look at what's popular on Facebook, you look at Zynga Poker. Okay, it's poker, but it's play money poker, and it's very social and it's very interactive, going back to your point. I don't know if people have seen it yet, but Zynga also have a bingo game in beta. Again, very, very social, a lot of fun. GameSys have a fantastic slots game. Again, very social, very different to what you would get on the website or outside of Facebook. So I think as well, it's thinking about how do you change your model to suit the environment. Because there are
still traditional games.
But it's a different business model as well, because it's play money, it's achievements, it's very interactive, very interlinked with your friends.
But as GameSys, for example, have you changed your business model?
It's adapted. It's always adapting. The business model of GameSys is constantly adapting. We do more on the social gaming front. Now we do have Jackpot Joy slots on Facebook. That's all virtual money. That's you're buying credits and in-game purchases rather than essentially betting real money.
See, I see the storytelling aspect being really important with the social evolution of gaming. Not just gambling for the sake of it, but gambling that's actually built into a storyline, into some type of proactive experience. If you look at something like Farmville, but adding a gaming component to it, people are attached to the story and the friendship and the connections that come out of playing a Farmville game, but yet there's an element of excitement and do I take the chance to make the bet on the situation or not? Almost like And I think back to a game that was quite popular in the States called Oregon Trail, where you were making bets throughout the game and then getting rewarded virtual money for it. What if that storyline model could actually be further used to be actual currency instead of kind of the false currency that we're using now? I just think that that's a model that could potentially be wide open in the next few years that I don't see enough people exploring.
I think it's interesting, the blurring of the edges between them. And it's also interesting what you said about disguising gambling games in order to make them more accessible to people. I think that actually what will happen is social gaming will become regulated, and social gaming should be regulated.
Mm-hmm.
I read recently, the figures might not be right, but I'll say it anyway, that somebody spent $35,000 in a weekend playing social games on Facebook. Now, that person could have been young, they could have been using somebody else's credit card. We would have stopped them after about 5 or 10 minutes.
They have a great cow collection on Farmville, though.
Yeah, and so you know, if the purpose of regulation is to stop is to protect vulnerable people, which it is, then if social gaming and gambling are going to become kind of married some way, then you need regulation of social gaming.
I think to some degree the evolution of these games is inevitable, and there will be an element of disguising by various outfits.
Disguise probably wasn't the right word, but it's more taking away that feeling, that negative feeling that people have naturally built up.
Not disguise, but adapt to accommodate the regulations and find various ways of actually making a decent profit from that client base. I think we need to distinguish at some point the purist gaming aspect of it versus the social, the social gaming aspect of it. I think the opportunities with regards to social gaming are almost limitless. Open up the imagination and let it run wild. Whether that will take players away from traditional gaming and move them into the new areas is debatable. I think there are some diehard purists out there who, when they play roulette, want to play roulette. When they play poker, want to play poker.